devilish duo keep on being, well, devilish, but other than that, this is an episode that is actually just for Yuzihara, which is actually very rare. For a very long time, well actually ever since the very beginning, Yuzihara has been noted to be very good with handicraft. And this episode really shows that yes, the Senku is all for science and all that information stuff. When it comes to handicraft, sewing, and many things more, there's no one better than Yuzihara. And man, is she adorable this episode. The Angry Anime Fan, here to bring you Dr. Stone Chapter 87. The summary of it all. Of course, many of the other savages are actually wondering, well, not savages, the Stone Age people are wondering that it's impossible to fly, even though Suka has always wondered if it is possible. However, Senku feels like it is possible and creates a very small map, revealing that they only need linen thread and cloth in order to make a hot air balloon. But in order to make a linen cloth, they really need to do a lot of cloth. So he turns to Yuzihara, who of course feels a little bit teared-eyed because it's gonna take some time. However, he gets on his knees together with old man Kazuki, and Yuzihara relents because after all she loves that. As they high-five, the handicraft team of Taiju and Yuzihara begins working. Taiju begins by crushing the flax, as Yuzihara suddenly becomes a little bit like Senku as she explains the method on how this thread work. She mentions that thread is made with a spindle. After tearing the flax apart and taking a fluffy part and wrap it around the spindle and just a spin, they create the first step. And then they create several kilometers of thread. That magma still don't get it. And then in order to make that thread into cloth, they need to string it up several, like a harp, up and down, which will take a very long time in order to create a loom, so to speak. So, but during the time Yuzihara does that, Yuzihara asks that Senku needs to create a little loom for that. And Kazuki and Senku creates not exactly a loom, but almost an entire sewing machine loom. Which is actually kind of funny. But with that, and gathering some color, Yuzihara and team managed to create cloth. It's a very long project, but they did it good. Did it well, even creating some more of it all. It's during this time that Ashiguro Gen also decides that there's still not enough thread. So by doing that, by doing his mentalist thing, by creating fake paper on top of a reel of their new cash, he motivates the other people to work harder. Even Senku feels that is a bit worrisome. However, Ashiguro again pulls the argument that they will drown in them soon enough, because of the leftover cloth is breathable, so if they can turn it into a project and sell them at the Senku department store, well then everyone else will be a little poor. It's pretty fun. Then one of the funniest scenes in this chapter comes, that despite Yuzihara being kind of worn out for all this, as soon as she hears about that project, she immediately cheers up and saying, I'll make that, I want to make that. And so she turns all Fist of the North Star in clothing, and she creates a hidden project behind a hidden cloth. And what does she create? She creates real life clothing. I take it she was the one who designed all the Stone Age like clothing, most of it all. But no, she has created real life clothing, including dresses, pants, and many things more, and even some nice poems. The ethical semblance of this setup pairs well with the stove and gives a boost to elegance. With the addition of the knit top accessories to a traditional style that fixes in a slim silhouette, this creates a look of casual, mature calm. and many things more. And this fitted mixed garments with a dash street. The special piece suit for dressing occasion conceals a rock-like spice. Indeed, all of these things are expensive, but of course the gang cannot really turn around this. As Ashiguro Gen says, they have super high grade product. It should take a while before they all sell. But Senku points out that they have a fella who is high with greed and hasn't once had to budget on the problem is he has now. Yes, it's Rusu. As his son realizes that there's something teetering around his neck. While the Senku department store of course gets a lot of food as they devilishly funds as they devilishly do that. Well, Ryusu, you're a little motive of having to own the oil. I think you just got in debt. Or perhaps you just lose all your drag or whatever. Either way, it seems, although it probably is for just this episode alone, or chapter alone, it seems to imply that now the Stone Age people actually has real clothings. Although, given the fact of this chapter, I think it is just a one-time deal, really. Yeah, it's very likely a one-time deal. But a very amusing episode, and it was pretty welcoming to see Yuzihara taking the spotlight. While many may argue that yes, she is a little bit of a satellite character, this does show her great passion of handicraft. Many times has it shown that she is a prodigy in that. And yes, as I said before, just like Senku is a prodigy when it comes to all things science and maybe building and blueprints, Yuzihara is one when it comes to handicraft. And boy, is almost unreal. Or granted, a lot of things in this things is meant to be unreal. But it is amazing. I have to say I really like that new clothing. I only wonder, are they now gonna switch into new clothing, or is this just a gag for this episode? Given who it is, I think it's just a gag for this chapter or whatever. Either way, but I enjoyed it. Had some funny moments. As I said before, the funniest moments was Yuzihara suddenly getting all hyper, despite already being worn out. Give me your thoughts if you have any.